but she is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim.
Harry just can't give her anything else anymore. He served his purpose. His purpose is over.
He was born into a fairy tale, the golden-haired prince who stole the world's heart. But today, that same prince looks like a man slowly fading behind someone else's shadow. Because something changed, something deep and unsettling. The smile that once lit up every room now feels forced. The spark in his eyes is gone, and the man who once laughed at royal rules now seems afraid to speak without permission. What happened to Prince Harry? How did the world's most rebellious royal, the soldier, the humanitarian, the free spirit, become the quiet, cautious man we see today? Some call it love, but psychologists, they're calling it something far darker, the chilling signs of narcissistic abuse. And once you start connecting the dots, the isolation, the personality shift, the emotional exhaustion, the truth behind Harry's story becomes almost impossible to ignore. By the end of this video, you will see the 10 shocking signs that show Prince Harry might not be living the dream, but surviving the most subtle and dangerous form of emotional control. And trust me, once you see it, you will never look at those royal smiles the same way again. If this has you hooked, it would mean the world to us at the Ruby Report if you'd hit that like button right now. And to make sure you catch all our deep dives into the stories behind the headlines, hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. It always starts quietly, not with loud arguments, but with slow, careful separation. At first, it just looks like setting boundaries, then it becomes distance, and finally, it evolves into complete isolation. For Prince Harry, that distance began the moment his entire world started revolving around one person. Friends who once filled his life with laughter suddenly stopped appearing at events. Old army mates, wedding guests, even loyal royal staff, all of them were gone, one by one, replaced by a new cast of faces, loyal only to the new dynamic. To outsiders, it seemed like independence, a man breaking free from the palace to live life on his own terms. But true freedom does not usually mean cutting everyone else out of your life. Behind the surface of privacy, there were whispers of control. Experts on narcissistic relationships say this is exactly how dependency begins. You are told over and over that others do not understand you, that your family does not truly support you, that only one person in the world truly does. And soon enough, the victim starts to believe it. Prince Harry, a man once surrounded by his brothers in arms, became an emotional island. Even his once unbreakable bond with his brother, Prince William, began to systematically fracture. The world saw the tense interviews and the growing distance, but few saw the psychological pattern playing out in textbook fashion, the deliberate shrinking of a social circle until only one voice matters. It is a deliberate strategy, a controlled environment cleverly disguised as a loving relationship. By the time the move to California happened, the transformation of Harry's world was complete. No palace, no brother, no father, just the illusion of choice in a world curated by someone else. And the saddest part is that many victims of this abuse do not even realize they have been isolated until it is far too late. Because at first, isolation does not feel like a prison. It feels like safety, until you finally notice the walls have been built up all around you. The change in Prince Harry did not happen overnight. It crept in like a shadow. He was once the lively, mischievous prince who could not hide his grin in the stiffest royal ceremonies. But the Harry we see now looks like a man carefully measuring every single word, every glance. The spark that once defined his rebellious humor seems to have been dimmed under the constant need for approval. The one person he appears desperate to please is Meghan. Observers noticed it early on. The natural confidence that once came so easily to him began to noticeably fade after their marriage. In his public appearances with Meghan, she often takes the lead, speaking first, steering conversations, and even subtly interrupting when Harry tries to share his own thoughts. Psychologists call this dominance by interruption, a quiet way to establish silent authority. As the spare, Harry was used to shaking hands after William, but now he was shaking hands after Meghan. Over time, Harry's entire body language has shifted. His shoulders are often drawn in, his gaze is frequently lowered, and his eyes can be seen flicking toward Meghan for a microsecond before he responds to a question. The man who once commanded global stages now seems to seek silent permission before he speaks. Many say love changes people, but this does not look like growth, it looks like submission. Meghan's influence appears to have completely reshaped his personality, molding him into a version that fits her world, not his own. Friends describe him as guarded, perpetually nervous, and emotionally exhausted. That lighthearted charm that once made him the world's favorite royal has been completely replaced by a wall of tension and deep emotional restraint. When someone's confidence is slowly replaced by a need for compliance, it is rarely an accident. It is control, cleverly masked as protection. And while Meghan has presented herself as his savior from a cruel institution, it is clear to many that she has also rewritten the script of who Prince Harry is even allowed to be. The free-spirited prince is gone, and in his place stands a man who has been edited by someone else's will. Once, Prince Harry's voice was his own, raw and unfiltered. But after Meghan entered his life, that voice began to sound strangely rehearsed, almost scripted. The man who once joked freely about royal life now speaks like a carefully trained spokesperson defending a brand. Meghan, with her background in media and her calculated approach to her public image, has mastered the art of narrative control. Under her influence, Harry's own truth has been rewritten line by line, memory by memory, until even he might not know where his reality ends and her version begins. Look at his memoir, Spare. Almost every page drips with a bitterness toward his family, a resentment that feels amplified and curated for maximum effect. Meghan's fingerprints are all over it. Friends of the royal family whisper that Meghan actively encouraged Harry to share the most intimate and damaging details, not for his own healing, but for her strategy. To her, every confession was currency, and every private pain became a public weapon. When Harry sits beside Meghan in their joint interviews, his words often echo hers almost perfectly. He uses the same unique phrasing and emotional framing. It is as if her narrative has completely merged with his own identity. That is a hallmark of this kind of manipulation. You do not just control someone's actions, you reshape their very memories until they align perfectly with your own truth. Meghan has managed to turn a prince's entire life into a storyline where she is the misunderstood heroine and he is the broken savior who follows her lead. The result is that a global audience now views the entire royal family through Meghan's filter. Harry's own credibility has been sacrificed for her version of events. What was once a complex family dispute has been masterfully reframed as a simple story of oppression. And the most dangerous part of all is that he seems to believe it completely. That is the insidious power of a narcissistic narrative. They do not just rewrite your story, they make you forget it was ever yours to tell. Control does not always come as a loud demand. Sometimes it wears the mask of love. Meghan's influence over Harry has evolved far beyond persuasion. It is now about precision. Every single major decision they have made since leaving the monarchy carries her signature style, impulsive, dramatic, and perfectly timed for maximum attention. Those choices did not reflect Harry's old instincts. They reflected Meghan's ambition. Behind the cameras, insiders describe her as calculating, strategic, and always in charge. She decides where they appear, what they say, and who is allowed into their very small, controlled orbit. When Harry does occasionally speak out of turn, Meghan's subtle corrections, the quick glance, the gentle interruption, all serve to reestablish her control. That dynamic is not a partnership, it is dominance disguised as concern. Slowly but surely, Prince Harry has become a supporting character in his own life, orbiting around her spotlight. Even their supposed freedom in America feels choreographed. The move to Montecito, marketed as an escape from pressure, has instead placed them under Meghan's total control. Far away from his family and trusted advisors, Harry's only emotional anchor is her approval. Every decision now filters through her lens of what is best for the image and influence. The world sees a power couple, but the balance of power is an illusion. Meghan leads and Harry follows. What began as love and liberation has seemingly turned into dependency and submission. Meghan did not just free Harry from the palace. She appears to have built a new cage, one wrapped in affection and locked with control. You can see the toll it has taken in his eyes, the deep-seated exhaustion that no amount of rest can cure. The once confident Prince Harry now carries the visible heaviness of someone emotionally drained, constantly performing for a sense of peace that never seems to arrive. Behind every forced public grin lies a quiet tension, the kind that comes from years of walking on eggshells. And at the center of it all stands Meghan, charming in public, but reportedly demanding in private, shaping every moment of his emotional energy around her own needs. Friends have whispered that Harry seems drained, confused, and mentally fragile. His famous spark has dimmed, replaced by a deep weariness. Meghan's relentless pursuit of media control and public vindication has kept him in a constant state of emotional alertness. Every new controversy becomes his responsibility to defend. Every criticism of her feels like a personal attack on him. It is the perfect cycle of manipulation. Exhaust the victim until any resistance feels impossible. His emotional resources are constantly being spent defending her, explaining her, and repairing her public image, all while his own mental health appears to crumble. The therapy sessions and emotional breakdowns on camera have followed him everywhere. But instead of helping him to genuinely heal, some argue that his vulnerability has been weaponized, used as emotional leverage in their shared narrative. Harry's exhaustion is not just physical, it is spiritual. It seems she has drained the prince who once fought for causes bigger than himself and left behind a man too tired to fight for his own peace. The most devastating sign of narcissistic control is not anger, it is disappearance. Piece by piece, the person you once were is slowly and systematically replaced by someone else's design. And that is exactly what appears to have happened to Prince Harry. The fun-loving, rebellious prince now seems molded into a cautious, compliant version of the man she wants him to be. His core identity, the soldier, the brother, the son, the free spirit, has been completely rewritten to fit her narrative of the modern royal rebel. Watch any of their interviews. Meghan speaks with unwavering confidence, while Harry echoes her words, often repeating her talking points like a memorized script. It is as if he no longer trusts his own voice unless it aligns with hers. That is not partnership, that is psychological editing. Meghan has turned Harry from an individual into an accessory for her brand. Even his physical appearance has changed, becoming softer and more polished. Friends describe how he constantly defers to her, seeking approval before speaking. Over time, that constant self-censorship erases individuality. Meghan's dominance does not just shape how Harry behaves, it shapes who he is allowed to be. She has rewritten his story so thoroughly that even he seems unsure where Prince Harry ends and Meghan Markle's narrative begins. And that is the cruelest form of control, not just to silence a man, but to make him forget his own voice ever mattered. Somewhere inside the quiet, polished version of Prince Harry, the old spark still flickers, small and fading fast. There are fleeting moments when his guard slips, a nervous laugh, a look of regret, a brief flash of the man who once defied royal convention with charm. But each time that side surfaces, Meghan seems to pull him back into line. She does not need to shout, her power lies in quiet correction. A single look from her can silence him instantly. That is not love, it is conditioning. Insiders claim that behind closed doors, Harry struggles between loyalty and identity. He knows the man he has become is not the one he used to be, but every attempt to reclaim himself risks Meghan's disapproval. She has created an emotional paradox, convincing him that freedom means obedience and love means surrender. That mental tug-of-war keeps him trapped, torn between who he was and who she has told him to be. When he appears in public, that conflict bleeds through his expressions. His words defend her, but his eyes tell a different story, the story of someone caught in emotional captivity. The saddest truth is that he still believes he is choosing this life. In reality, Meghan has made sure every path back to himself feels like betrayal. And that is how she keeps him exactly where she wants him, torn, tamed, and trapped. In the end, what we are witnessing is not just the fall of a prince, it is the slow unraveling of a man who once had the world at his feet. Prince Harry's journey from freedom to fragility reads like a warning for anyone who has ever mistaken control for devotion. Meghan did not simply enter his life. She reconstructed it brick by brick until the walls became invisible and the cage felt like comfort. What began as love turned into loyalty born of fear, dependence disguised as partnership. The cheerful, confident royal has been replaced by a man who smiles for cameras while silently fighting for air. Yet somewhere deep inside, the real Harry still exists, the soldier, the brother, the dreamer. Whether he will ever find his way back depends on whether he recognizes the pattern surrounding him. Because true love does not isolate, silence, or reshape you, it frees you. And until he sees that, the world will keep watching the tragedy of a prince lost in someone else's story. If you want to uncover how this story truly began, do not miss our previous deep dive about how Prince Harry was stunned after uncovering Meghan's Soho House past. It reveals the hidden beginnings of Meghan's influence, long before the world noticed the shift. You are watching The Ruby Report, where truth meets the untold. Subscribe now and keep your eyes open, because in the world of fame and power, every smile hides a secret.